You know that feeling, right? When you say something in the heat of the moment and you instantly wish you could take it back? Or when one single critical email just completely tanks your entire day? Well, today we are diving deep into the science of not reacting. We're going to master that tiny little space between what happens to you and how you respond to it. Because in that space, that's where all your power is.
So here's the plan. First up, we're going to explore your brain's ancient and kind of outdated alarm system. Then I'm going to give you a super practical 4-step method to get back in the driver's seat in seconds. After that, we'll map out the 4 levels of emotional mastery so you can see where you are and where you're going. And finally, we'll look at how this all builds into something I like to call the resilience compound effect.
Okay, let's get into it. To even begin to get control, we have to understand why your brain seems like it's hardwired to sabotage you, why it reacts to modern life with these ancient caveman survival instincts.
This quote right here, it gets right to the heart of the problem. Our emotional system is basically a fossil. It was built to deal with immediate physical threats, like a tiger jumping out of the bushes. But today, that exact same system gets triggered by deadlines, social media, and work stress, and it often leads us to sabotage our own success.
This whole process has a name. It's called an amygdala hijack. See, deep inside your brain, there's this little almond-shaped alarm called the amygdala. And the thing is, it can't tell the difference between a real predator and a nasty email from your boss. It just screams threat and floods your system with stress hormones, making rational thought, well, pretty much impossible.
And here's the craziest part. Your emotional brain, it is lightning fast. We're talking 12 milliseconds to react. But your rational brain, the part that thinks things through, it takes over 500 milliseconds just to get its boots on and figure out what's happening. That's a massive head start for your worst instincts. You literally feel the anger or the fear long before you can even begin to think logically about it.
So this is the choice we're faced with in those moments every single time. Every time you have that knee-jerk emotional reaction, you're paving a neural pathway for weakness. You're making it easier to do it again. But when you can just pause and give a thoughtful response, you are literally building strength. You're rewiring your brain for better outcomes.
So now that we understand this whole amygdala hijack thing, how in the world do we fight back? We can't reason our way out of it, so we need a simple, powerful tool that actually works when our smart brain is offline.
Remember that 500 millisecond delay? Yeah, you can't just tell yourself, hey, be more rational when you're in the middle of an emotional hijack. It just doesn't work. You need a simple, almost physical system to interrupt the whole process. And that is exactly where the STOP method comes in. It's a super practical tool, backed by neuroscience, for taking back control.
Okay, let's break it down. It's an acronym. S-T-O-P. First, S. Literally, stop. Whatever you're doing, just stop. Take your hands off the keyboard, close your mouth. This physical halt sends a pattern interrupt to your brain. T. Take a breath, a slow, deep one. This activates your body's built-in relaxation response. O. Observe. Ask yourself, what are the cold, hard facts here, and what is the dramatic story I'm telling myself about the facts? And finally, P. Proceed. Only now can you make a conscious choice that actually aligns with your long-term goals.
The entire point of the STOP method is to create that pause. That's the whole game. That little gap between the trigger and your response, that's where you stop being a passenger, just getting yanked around by your emotions, and you become the driver of your own life.
Now, let's be real. Mastering this skill isn't like flipping a light switch, it's a journey. So let's explore that path, from being totally at the mercy of your emotions to achieving what you could call true emotional alchemy.
As we go through these 4 levels, I want you to be really honest with yourself and ask, where do I usually operate? Because just recognizing your current level, that's the very first step to leveling up.
Okay, so level 1 is what we call unconscious reactivity. This is where you don't even know you have a choice. Your thought is, you made me angry. Level 2 is conscious reactivity. Here you know you're overreacting, but you do it anyway and then you justify it. Level 3, this is where it gets good, is conscious response. You feel that rush of emotion, but you use that space to choose a response that lines up with your values. And then there's level 4, the pinnacle, emotional alchemy. This is where you can actually take a negative emotion and transform it into positive fuel, like turning frustration into unstoppable motivation.
And here's the most important thing to remember. Nobody is born at level 4. This isn't some innate trait you either have or you don't. Emotional control is a skill. And just like a muscle, every single time you practice that SOT stop method, you're doing another rep. You're making that muscle stronger.
So why do all this work? I mean, what's the big deal?
Why is this skill so critical? Let's look at the incredible long-term payoff, because trust me, the rewards here go way, way beyond just avoiding a few arguments.
I want you to think of this like compound interest, but for your life. Every small, daily choice to pause instead of react is like a tiny deposit into an investment account. At first, it doesn't seem like much, but over time, those little deposits grow on each other, exponentially, creating these massive, life-altering returns.
So what are the returns? First, your relationships. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you're making a huge deposit in what we could call the trust account of the people you care about. You become a source of stability, a safe harbor for them, and that is the absolute bedrock of any deep, meaningful connection.
And what about at work? Professionally, this skill builds an incredibly powerful reputation. People who are known for being calm and clear-headed under pressure, they're seen as leaders, period. They're the ones who get trusted with more responsibility, who get offered the opportunities that are completely closed off to people who are seen as emotionally unreliable.
Then there's the health benefits, which are just profound. See, chronic emotional reactivity floods your body with stress hormones like cortisol. That stuff wrecks your immune system and messes with your brain. Mastering your emotions dials down that chronic stress, which leads to better sleep, better health, and a brain that is literally stronger and more resilient.
And ultimately, all of this, it leads to the grand prize, a real, lasting sense of inner peace. It's not about your circumstances being perfect. It's about developing this quiet certainty deep down that you have the tools to handle whatever life decides to throw at you.
So I'm going to leave you with this one final question to think about. What is the one thing in your job, in your family, in your life that would start to change for the better if you made just one more thoughtful response today? Because that's where this whole journey really begins.